What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 144. If you haven't listened to this podcast before, my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I'm documenting my journey in real estate and business while also talking a little bit about travel hacking and personal finance. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about some things that we're doing as we're finishing up a couple projects here, and I thought it would just be really good to share it because, you know, this is something that you don't really see when you start the flip, but after we've done a couple and we've got to this finish line, there's different things we forget, you know, different expenses, and I really just wanted to break that down. So if you saw my TikTok or follow me on Instagram, you probably saw me talk a little bit about it, but I'm going to be breaking it down a little bit more on the podcast here. So before I hop into that, go follow me on social media on YouTube and Instagram at chris.rickenbaugh. That's chris.REICHENBACH. So you can follow me there, stay up to date on what I'm doing, check out my flips, and just listen to me talk sometimes. So let's hop into today's episode. So like I was saying, I wanted to break down a couple things we're going through here as we're wrapping up two of my projects, and we just got another two rolling. So it's, just trying to get these two on the market, completely finished. So I walked it today, and this is being recorded on Tuesday, June 17th. So, walked it today. We're just, a couple days away. We still need the final inspection to be able to, go in and get the pictures, turn on the electric so that we can get, or backwards there. We need to be able to finish all of that, then get the inspections to be able to then turn back on the electric at one of these houses, and then get the pictures and put it on the market. Hopefully by the end of next weekend. I was hoping to do it by the end of this week, but we're just not quite there yet. And, three of these things where we're getting down to is figuring out, all right, well, we still need appliances. We still need a couple of these little things knocked out. And then are we going to do staging? So I wanted to break down those from beginning to end. So the big thing we're going through right now, or we're going to tomorrow, I was there a little bit early today, so they didn't have everything quite finished up. So hopefully by tomorrow morning, they'll have pretty much the house wrapped up and just about complete. So those are going to be the punch list items. So punch list is going to be things like knocking out those little to-dos, or, just making sure the house is all buttoned up, everything's complete, so that we can get this thing picture ready and on the market. So some of those things we're going to be buttoning up here is going to be landscaping. We're going to be making sure all the water is running to all the faucets, it's coming out of the shower, make sure there's no stoppage, and then we're making sure all of the outlets work. So, that was something I missed a little bit on my last flip that hit the market, not the duplex, but one back in March or January. Somewhere around, I think it sold in March, on the market in January, and landscaping was the last thing to go in. And what happened was my realtor walked through and she's like, hey, there's the bathroom, the downstairs bathroom drain is clogged. So we had to get the plumber out there. Turns out we had to get, my general contractor went out there and he said, yeah, this isn't something I can get. We have to call the plumber out. So that sucked. And then we had to rip out the whole bathtub. Then we had to put it back. And then we had to make sure all of the outlets work. So we got to make sure all those switches work, all the lights are turning on, everything's plugged in, because the worst thing that could happen is that they're going through their inspection, or somebody's walking through the house that really likes it, and, a switch doesn't work, or there's a little bit of a leak. So making sure all of those things are buttoned up, make sure they're touched up, all the paint on the wall is even. Those are going to be those things that we're knocking out tomorrow, and then making sure that we're, just getting to the finish line here. So one of those other things, getting to the finish line, it's going to be my second item, is going to be appliances. So this isn't something that I send to my budget or send in on my budget to my hard money lender, because it takes up a good $2,500 to $3,000 that we could be putting into something else, because this is probably going to be one of the last things that we put inside the house. So all we have to do is make sure that the contractor knows where it's going to go and what size, so that when it's complete, all we have to do is take the additional funds that we've pulled from the house being complete, and then we can spend that on appliances that can get there within a day or two. So those in our area don't really take that long to get in. We don't need any special sizes, so we can just plug and play. And worst case scenario, if one of those discount stores doesn't have it, I can always go to Lowe's. So that's one of those things we're about to do next week, is get those appliances taken care of once we do a draw for the final part here. And then the last one is going to be staging. So with those appliances, we're going to be staging the house, making it look like somebody's actually living there, stage the bathroom a little bit. We're going to do the master bedroom, making sure there's a bed in there, some things along the bathroom sink, making sure it's just looking like somebody's living there, so that people can see or envision themselves living there and see how this would function for them. And I don't have the actual stats, but anybody who's flipping that I've talked to say the staging goes a long way. Any realtor, they're like, yeah, staging definitely helps out. So that's one of those last things that have to go in, but it also costs a little bit of money. I mean, I think we spent about $2,000 or $2,500 the last time I got something staged. So it's definitely not inexpensive, but it's definitely worth it on that back side if you're able to get a buyer a little bit quickly. So those are my 3 items that I'm going to be looking at here as we wrap up 2 of these projects. So one should be on the market hopefully by the end of next weekend. And then the other one should be getting ready to hit the market in not too far from now. So super excited about those things, and you'll hear all about it here on the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast. And if you're still listening, make sure you keep tuning in. We got a couple guests coming up, Lexi and Jeff Bodenmueller, so that's going to be a really good one here in July. And then I got a couple other ones here in the Charlotte market that I've been talking to and said, hey, let's get you on the podcast. Let's talk about what we're seeing in the market, what you're doing, what your niche is. So we're going to be having a couple of those interviews coming up. I don't believe this Friday, but the next Friday we'll have one. So make sure you tune in for those. So that's all I got for this podcast, but thank you so much for tuning in. And this is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I will see you on the next one.